what's up? This is Charles Agnette with IGN, here with Ryan Geddes.
Hey Charles, I just would like to point out that today is Turdus, the 24th of Sun's Dawn in the Elder Scrolls universe.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's a very important date because we happen to get the first gameplay footage of Bethesda's new role-playing game, Skyrim.
Amazing.
So, I mean, here you can see in these little clips that the game looks way better than Oblivion. I mean, I think.
Yeah, all new engine, right? All this tech is new for Skyrim.
Yeah, Bethesda's been developing it in-house, and Skyrim is actually a zone within Tamriel that is part of the Elder Scrolls world that lies north, and it's obviously snowy, so you get different kinds of environment types this time. And this is set 200 years after the events of Oblivion.
So we're seeing a lot of this mural, this stone mural on the wall that if we could stop here and look at this rune here, which is obviously from the Oblivion gates, we're getting a sign that what we're seeing on this wall are some of the most important events of the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah, so it's kind of leading up to what happens in Skyrim. This mural is telling the story of all the things that needed to happen for the dragons.
OMG dragons. Here he is. We see multiple dragons here. We're assuming the big one on the left here is this sort of major dragon god guy who's been around for a really long time and who's wiped out humans in the past in this region, and all signs are pointing to him being reborn along with all the other dragons coming back to terrorize Tamriel and Skyrim in particular.
Yeah, and so what you wind up playing as is you are one of the Dragonborn, which is part of the story also told on this mural. And you are like the last one. And these guys have the power to basically yell at dragons, or just yell in general.
Which they hate. They really do not like
dragons
being
do
yelled
not
at.
like getting yelled at. So they can yell at dragons and make stuff happen, which is part of what you see here. So here is the dragon waking up. You know, this is part of the major conflict of Skyrim, which also involves some kind of political strife.
Yeah, the king of Skyrim has been murdered, and there's sort of a succession war going on in the background. So you have that happening, and then you also have, unfortunately, the dragons have come back to make things even more complicated. And you see here, this is the ancient Dragonborn, and the voiceover is saying that the sort of one person that the dragons fear most is the Dragonborn, the person who has the power of the shout.
Which dragons don't want.
They hate
And then
it, yeah.
if we can stop right here, like you can see this fire coming off of the ground, and it may look cool from a cinematic sense, but this is actually something that'll happen in game. This is like part of the new spell effects. Some of the fire spells will actually set the ground on fire.
And you can also see what the hero is wearing here is a kind of a different looking armor set than what we've seen in past Elder Scrolls games, which we can expect that there'll be a lot more different armor and weapon types than we've previously seen.
Yeah, it's sort of like a less generic style, a more straightforward style. Oh, and there we go. And so he just yelled at the dragon. That's part of his shout system. So this is the Dragonborn.
And we don't really know what that's going to involve yet. Like we don't know what exactly the effects of that are, but we have some clues, right?
Yeah, I mean, so basically some of the shouts will do things like slow down time, and then at some point, and I'm assuming this will be one of the later ones, you can actually call dragons in to help you out. So you could possibly like call that guy in and be like, oh, hey, what's up, bro? Let's go kill some stuff.
Actually, so if we could rewind a little bit here, we see this beautiful city in Skyrim, and
this is called Markarth, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I probably am not.
Well, I want to point out in the very lower left-hand corner of the screen here, we've got a dude just kind of strolling along this bridge here, and that gives you a sense of just the kind of scale that we're seeing in this huge city. And we also know that this isn't the only giant city that we're going to be seeing in Skyrim.
Yeah, there's actually 5, which is a lot more than we saw in Oblivion.
Here's another one. Actually, I want to go back a little bit though, because when we move through the forest here, see that head right there on the sort of in the middle distance? We don't know what ruin that is from, but we do know that Skyrim was settled by early humans, by elves way before that. So
snow elves, I believe.
Well, the snow, Charles, don't get me started on the snow elves.
Okay,
We're not
I'm
sure
sorry.
whether they're real or whether they're a figment of the Nord people's imagination, but I'm sure
They're real,
sure.
Ryan.
Okay, fine. Well, I'll let you have this.
Thank
Charles.
you.
Horses?
And I think, yes, if we can go back, there is a horse in this frame next to the windmill. Horse is confirmed.
I think that
The horse is not wearing horse armor.
I mean, I'm assuming he's tied up outside of a horse armor shop so that he can be armored. Otherwise, why would he go out into the world?
Yes,
I mean, it's
so
dangerous.
horse armor DLC confirmed.
I do want to rewind just a little bit. If you look in the far background, you can see a ship there kind of in the haze. And we don't know for sure which city this is, but we do know that there's a city called Hafengar, which is a big port city in Skyrim. Also, quick note, that is the home of the famous Bard's College there in Hafengar. So, if you're playing as a bard, you'll hang out
Sounds like a beer garden. I guess if we go back here, this structure is actually going to come back. This spiny structure. It's going to come back at the end of the video, but this could be the Thousand Stair, I guess, which is at the...
Yeah, we don't know for sure, but it would make sense. The 1,000 steps lead up the throat of the world, which is the highest point in Skyrim, and it's sort of like a sacred place to the people of Skyrim, where
whence the shouts emanate with the graybeards and such.
Maybe we've been watching this trailer a bit too much.
I have been watching this for like 24 hours. So.
This is very cool. We'll see that again later in the trailer.
This is a giant. I would not want to fight him.
No, he looks very mean.
Yeah.
And slightly like Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you actually will fight a dragon, assuming this is not just, like, for cinematic effect. Like, you can go toe-to-toe with the dragon. Like, you're not going to have to hide behind a rock and shoot arrows and, cross your fingers that the dragon doesn't notice that it's getting arrows in the face.
Yeah, this guy just put a sword on a dragon's face. And you can see, like the dragon reacts, like, his face goes back, the blood comes off his sword, I mean, he's blocking, I mean, he's really mixing it up. And we'll see a little bit more of that later in the trailer.
Yeah, and I mean, here we get a sort of a Bioshock 2 type of sense of like what they're doing with equipping weapons and magic, where you can actually see the magical effects on your hand there as you go towards the Frost Troll, in addition to having a weapon out at the same time. And it'll be really interesting to like play around with that like further into the game. And then beyond this, we see like another style of gameplay. Like if you want to be a sneak attack type of person with a dagger, and go into bars with a clearly oblivious clientele. I don't know what those people are doing over there.
Is this bard a student at the Bard's College? We don't know. He could be.
Yeah, I mean, he could have been at the beer garden. It's true.
Crack. So check this out. This guy, this is a really good example of the way the combat looks and feels. It's very different from Oblivion. When this hero brings his axe down on this guy's head, look at it snap backward. I mean, this is not the sort of smack at something and
yeah, no like sense of weight until it like ragdolls all over the place.
No,
like this is an individual body part like reacting to getting impacted by an
very
axe.
Cool.
I would not want that to happen to me. That looks pretty painful.
And we see more of that with this dragon battle. I mean, watch this dragon's head smack to the left after he gets hit. I mean, that's a very visceral reaction to what just happened.
Yeah, and I think this clip was just included to show off the lighting effects and particle effects.
Speaking of lighting effects, let's just light up this cave with a nice little spell here. We see the dual wielding again, where he's got a wand in one hand and a sword in the other.
Yeah, and again here where he's got a dagger and a sword during this fight, where you can see there's a lot more movement to the combat. I know there is a third-person mode in this game again, although probably most would play in first, but I mean you can see the enemy kind of staggering around as he's getting impacted by these sword slashes.
Oh, snap hunting.
Yeah, so I mean, this is just another style of gameplay. If you're like me and you just like to run around and just sort of live in the world and, hunt innocent animals and shoot arrows through them, then you can totally do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, which I'm actually pretty excited about. Okay, stop. If we can go back to that clip, there's actually quite a bit going on here.
I'm kind of getting overloaded here, Charles. I'm excited.
Okay, so first of all, we see this guy in the foreground, right here, is clearly not in a good position. That is a finishing move. So in the game, with different weapon types, there will be special animations that play out when you kill people with, daggers or swords or axes or whatever you happen to be using. And this is just one of them against this, a humanoid enemy type. I'm sure they'll be different if you're fighting, monsters or something like that. More importantly,
yes,
behind the person, I believe that is Nirnroot.
Yeah, that's
Ryan,
clear.
Can you confirm?
Nirnroot confirmed.
Okay.
And
very
not
important.
only this is not a fluke. And to prove it, well, let's pan forward just a little bit. There's another one in the background.
Oh, more Nirnroot.
Yeah, so this is clearly, and Charles, as you pointed out, they do love to be by the water, don't they? They flourish there.
That is where you find the Nirnroot typically. Very important alchemical component.
Yeah, this is showing that the gathering of herbs and things like that in the world is back. I looked in this trailer for Luminous Rusula and I could not find any. Disappointing, but hopefully they'll be back.
Maybe in the next trailer.
Maybe so. This guy doesn't mess around when it comes to fighting dragons,
no,
clearly.
I hope I get to play as that guy who can one-shot dragons who fly by in midair, because that's a pretty epic headshot right there.
Let's assume he was hurt a little bit already.
I don't know,
Dragon,
he seems okay. He's just sort of heaving.
Dragon comes to rest, and we see the hero absorbing the dragon's, I guess, essence or power. And we think this is going to be not just your typical leveling up experience, right, but more of a
This is how you get the new shouts. So he's absorbing the dragon's power, so he now has like one of those new abilities that can, slow down time or call in more dragons or do whatever else the other ones we don't know about
So we're thinking
are capable of.
We're thinking this may be similar to kind of what we saw with the Oblivion Gates in the last game, where there are major landmark moments where something huge happens, and we're assuming multiple dragons will be fought.
Yeah, it'll be like an exploration kind of milestone and reward for players.
And here we go.
And clearly, yeah, there's more dragons to fight. They're just hanging around. Again, this structure with the staircase.
Yep, this might be the 1,000 steps.
But yeah, that was the first actual gameplay footage from Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and we'll have more when we see more footage, and we're greatly looking forward to this game.